Check 1 2. Checking 1 2. Okay. Check 1 2. Looking like looks like we are getting audio on YouTube feed. Now let me start the Facebook stream as well. Okay, we're all right. CPU usage seems to be at 25.3%. I'm gonna check Facebook. Okay, so it is getting feeds. I'm gonna go live real quick. Okay, so it looks like we are live. Looks like I am live on Facebook here as well. And then looks like YouTube is also live. So let me go back to OBS. OBS looks good. So let me just adjust my monitor. Alright, so now I am looking at, I have my, OBS open in the stream computer. So I've got a nice preview of the program feed there. I'm using an output from, I'm using the video out from the Blackmagic switcher to use for the gameplay, so I don't have to be using some small monitor. I put it out to a, I don't know, 35-inch television or some size like that. I've got audio routed from the Blackmagic switcher to the computer, and I am using the monitor function in OBS for the gameplay audio. This is a similar setup to a previous live stream test I did with a video game, because the PlayStation it technically does have a dedicated audio out, but I don't know what the port is, what kind of cabling it would require, and I found that this was a much easier fix for that issue. And then I'm still using a different mixer today. I'm using a Allen and Heath QU16. It's a little more pared down, a little simpler. Okay, sorry. Got a text. It's a little simpler mixer than the SQ5. It doesn't have as advanced settings, but it still has a I/O output that you can set, so you have so you can interface with a computer. So it's a pretty solid mixer. I haven't had as much experience on it, so it's definitely worth a little bit of testing with, especially for live stream purposes. So that's good. Let me respond to this text I just received real quick. Alright, so let me check the stream health on YouTube and Facebook. Looks like it's alright on YouTube. Let's go over to oh, hey Paul. Yeah, alright, so looks like Facebook stream is going well, or running smoothly. And if anyone is watching, please let me know if you're getting audio fine and what the levels are of the gentle water lapping at a boat audio level versus my audio. I want to make sure I'm not too quiet. because they are mixed. Um, they are mixed. Separately, they are two separate sources, so I have to adjust them separately. It's not all in the digital mixer that I'm using. Great. All right. Sounds good. So anyways, just a heads up to anyone who is watching this, specifically Paul. This game. It's rated M for mature for several good reasons. I don't unfortunately have anything installed to play that is any better, really. Um, but hey Samante, no, this is it's a video game called The Last of Us Part 2. Super great game, super strong narrative. Can definitely recommend to anyone who's really into, media that is challenging. This game gets really intense, both in every aspect. The action, the violence, the emotional stakes to everything. But anyways, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and play a bit because I want to see how it works. I know I've already done a stream with game content previously, but that was only to YouTube for a test, and I wanted to see how it works. I'm not in my basement or anything. I'm currently at our office at work, so I can't tell what I'm actually picking here. The menu was a little difficult to navigate. Oh, maybe that comment was there's a conversation going on in the chat, it looks like. Sorry about that. I'll pay attention to the game, I guess. It'll be hard to do both. Yes, I am using OBS. So Samante, what I've got is I'm using a Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro, which has a 4 HDMI input plus two 3.5 mil mic inputs, and then it's a great little piece of hardware. It's about prices in the 800 range, I think. And it has, like I said, those inputs. It's got a multi-view out, which there is a A10 Mini that does not have multi-view. That's only in the 300 to 400 range, I believe. So that's a really great like starter switcher for someone who's getting into streaming. Plus, you can get, with OBS, you can get a preview of what your program is going to look like. And I imagine you can get a multi-view as well. I haven't had to play around with that because the switcher does it itself, which is nice. But so I'm running that in. It's got a USB-C out that I'm running to this MacBook that we have for our streaming purposes. MacBook Pro. It's been really solid with all of my stream tests recently. And then we have a Allen and Heath QU16 that I've routed out using one of the, I believe it's Mix 5.6 that I have it set to. Okay, so here, I have the camera set on a tripod, so I could probably pan it around to show you stuff. see if we can. Okay, so that's a upside down. Let me see if I can pull focus. Um, that's a kind of upside down view, but as you can see, you've got red for live. You've got your queued source, and then you can adjust audio levels for each camera input, and then you can see USB-C out. It's also got Ethernet streaming, so it's a pretty cool little switcher, and it's good, really great price point. Now, let me see if I have focus over here. Yeah, way out for deep focus. So in terms of games that I play, hold on, let me check the camera to see if I'm actually. Yeah, okay, that's not bad. Um, uh, so in terms of games I play a lot of story-driven stuff. I don't really. It's usually whatever I'm in the mood for. Not necessarily has to be long or short. I mean, I've actually been enjoying like a nice mid-range for narrative-driven games because it's nice to have good pacing. Like for example, I have The Witcher 3 downloaded and I've never actually played it, and it's just kind of daunting because it is so extremely long if you really want to sink your teeth into it. Meanwhile, with The Last of Us here, it's about a 25-hour game, which is significant, but it felt very strongly paced to me throughout me playing it. So it's just really whatever I'm in the mood for. I've already played this game 2 times all the way through. I'm on my third one, and I will most likely before the end of the year have finished a fourth one because I really, really, really enjoyed it. Yeah. Back to the equipment. It's a nice little setup. The um, the mixer is also routed directly into the computer. So, and then in OBS, I just have two audio input captures set. Um, the switcher and then the audio from the the video switcher. Um, but but so that's the audio routing. Let me see. Let me look at OBS real quick. Yeah, and I also if I also yesterday did a test with a captioning system called Web Captioner. That was pretty solid because it's a free service that you just give access to your microphone or whatever your input is, and then it will listen and create live captions. Um, but um, but that caption system's really great because it's free, and it's a web thing. It does not give punctuation, which is kind of a pain, because it looks kind of like just flow of consciousness, just words. But for what it is, for the fact that it's free, um, that was a really good system. And I didn't really see delay. I just saw uh, the question. I didn't see delay with the captioning. It looked pretty solid. I think the bigger issue is sometimes it didn't quite know what I was meaning to say, and that's probably just from my accent or how I pronounced a word or two. I don't think it was any issue with the mic being too soft because even when I was speaking a little bit faster, I think it kept up with me well. Now I wasn't just sitting there reading them off. Um, uh, so but I think overall for the kind of events that we'll be running here, I think those that captioning system is going to work pretty well for any event where they request captioning. And I think we will probably operate on not doing them unless requested, just because I think they are. I mean, they're effective, but I think they can be somewhat distracting depending upon what the content of the well, so I can't exactly just turn it on because it's a whole process in which you have to insert a window capture and then crop the window. So it's more of a setup in advance than just a simple just turn on system, unfortunately. Also, it seems that with OBS, you can't have OBS running on the same monitor or window. So it actually has to be set up with a multi-monitor setup where you have OBS running on one monitor and then your Chrome browser running in a separate window that you're then capturing and then cropping to put onto the bottom of the screen. So I don't think I'll be able to do it on this current test. I may um, end this test and then start another one today, but it being kind of later in the day today, I may just run with this one because I have some, wrap up work I need to do for, just closing down office and everything, and filling out my end of week stuff, paperwork. But yeah, the closed captioning system. If you watched my previous stream test, they work pretty well. Um, and Yeah, so this is a pretty cool little setup. It's just I'm gonna just do the picture in picture with the face cam and the one source. I think I only have the two sources in right now, but you can also queue media um, off of your computer. So that's really nice, and you can also have still images queued. So if you want a placeholder, perhaps if you had an intermission during an event or something, you could kind of fade in, fade out with that. It's got some preset transitions, which are pretty cool. You know, a mix, a dip, a few different wipes. You could change the duration of the transitions, and you can also use a little like fader bar to manually control it. If for some reason you wanted to kind of accelerate the transition, like mid dissolve, stuff like that. It's a fairly solid system. You do have to use a lot of the control is in the software control rather than hardware, because the hardware is what's on hardware is pretty simple, and it's all you really need if you're just trying to kind of bootstrap something real simple. Um, but uh, but it um, so the Blackmagic switcher is hold on, I just got some kind of notification. Let me see what that is. Oh, okay. Um, so I actually have the Blackmagic switcher, which is the physical switcher, so it has physical controls on Surface, and then there's also software controls for the Blackmagic switcher that adjusts settings for that. So not all controls are on the physical box, and then also you have OBS. So basically, all I really do with OBS is run the video so that I can have my multiple audio captures and then the video. Because hypothetically, if all I wanted to do was run audio, just for example, in this case, if all I wanted to do was not have a microphone audio and just run the game audio, I could just run that directly into Facebook as a webcam feed, because the Blackmagic switcher output is viewed as a just as a webcam. So that's really nice. That's one of the nice things about it is it if you really just wanted to kind of plug it in and go, like if you didn't need a monitor system, say you just had a camera, and then you could, even if you wanted to, and I prefer not to do this, but if you wanted to, you could run output from the mixer into one of the audio inputs on the Blackmagic switcher, the actual physical switcher, because it's got two 3.5 mil mic inputs, but they can be set to line. So you could hypothetically just run from the mixer into the Blackmagic switcher and then only use audio from the Blackmagic switcher. And then all you would have to do on Facebook or YouTube is select use webcam and then select audio from the Blackmagic switcher, and you could go from there. So it really makes that simple if you want it to be kind of a really simplified setup. I prefer to have a few different layers what with the mixer into the laptop and then using OBS, especially if you want to stream to multiple platforms. And also, let me say that this stream to multiple platforms via OBS is it's not. It does certainly work. You need a computer with enough processing power to handle it because you're doubling the load basically. A lot of times, um, if you were gonna be doing a professional setup like this, where you were streaming to multiple services, you would use a outside service such as I think Caster or there's a few others, uh, um, but but yeah, Caster is something where you send your feed to them and then they host it to multiple video services. So if, for example, if you wanted it on Twitch as well, if you wanted it on 3 platforms, I also haven't experimented with Twitch or anything like that because we won't need to ever do anything like that. But we do need to test Teams because it may be that the only multi-platform you can do via OBS um, is to simultaneously YouTube and Facebook. Because also you need to have Facebook set as the primary stream because what you do in OBS is you actually set your record output to send to a YouTube stream. And when I tried yesterday, it did not work in the reverse order. So I could not um, choose to send it to a YouTube stream and then send the record to Facebook. It didn't like that. So it's an interesting workaround. Maybe some kinks to work out. Picture in picture with a PowerPoint, yes, you can feed a laptop into this. I actually, for my other test, was um, using input 3 on the switcher as the extended monitor for this computer because I ran a Zoom meeting and I only had one monitor to run stuff to, and I wanted to have 2 monitors going with the Mac and an extended monitor. So I just switched from multi-view to viewing source 3 on the output from the Blackmagic switcher, and it let me use it as an extended monitor. So Sony Anycast. So how does that work? I mean, obviously, you can maybe describe in the comments. You don't feel the need to go in great detail, but but I imagine it's some kind of system where you kind of feed both inputs in to kind of give you a picture-in-picture system, kind of like or image, kind of like I have set. So in this game, so what this game's about, um, uh, it's the sequel to. So let me backtrack a bit. Hmm. I don't know about stars or support. It may be because I've not really got a established stream background, so there may be some kind of limitation on how that can work. But so anyways, on in terms of the game, this game is backtracking. The first game came out in 2013, and it's a kind of post-apocalyptic setting where it's a based off of a real fungus called it's called cordyceps that grows in the rainforest, I believe, in South America. And what it does is it actually grows out of ants' heads, and it actually will take over motor function of the ant and force them to crawl to a high space where they will then latch and they will die there, but the fungus will then grow out of them to release spores. It's actually really crazy, and it's a real thing. But the premise of the game is that it has jumped to humans, and then the game starts, and you play, and you start playing as this man's daughter, and then you play as him for a bit, and it's right around Outbreak Day is what they call it, uh, back when the game was initially released, so 2013. And so they're trying to escape, and he loses his daughter. Um, and she's killed, and then you jump forward 20 years, and you play as that same character, that man, who who's now a smuggler, and he's assigned to escort this young girl, this 14-year-old girl, across the country, and they find out that she's immune, to the fungal thing, to the virus, whatever you want to call it. And so they then go cross country because they're trying to take her to create a cure for the infection. And and then it kind of unravels from there, and they have trials and tribulations, and their relationship grows. And the big focus of the game is on these two characters and their relationship, and kind of the main character who you play as kind of opening up and being willing to engage with this person again and care for someone again after he lost his daughter. And it's a really good, emotionally resonant story. I loved it. It's a phenomenal game, masterpiece level game. It was the last big PlayStation exclusive released on the PS3. Um, so, and then they ported it to the 4. I actually have it installed on my PlayStation. But but yeah, so and then this whole stuff transpires, and then at the end, spoiler alert, at the end of the first game, the main character you play as, um, they finally get to the hospital where they're trying to make a cure, and they're gonna try, but it's gonna kill the girl. And he decides that he can't live with that, and he won't accept it, and he goes and he uh, whisks her away. She actually wasn't aware that they were gonna try and kill her to make the cure. So when she comes to, they've left, and he's killed a bunch of people to escape with her. And he lies to her and says that they weren't able to work on a cure. And then they go back to, along the road, they'd interacted with his brother, who they'd found, who was starting a settlement in Wyoming. And they go back there, and then they settle in there. But there's seeds of doubt left. And then this game picks up, and it kind of goes from there, and something happens that leads you now play as that woman who is older, and something happens that spurs her on a quest to what remains of Seattle, Washington. I don't want to say any more about it because the narrative is really strong, and I don't want to spoil it. So also, if you're interested, you may not actually want to watch me play, but I think I may actually go ahead and adjust what I'm going to play. Also, I'm going to play encounters rather than continue the narrative. So anyways, sorry, long-winded, but there's a lot to talk about in terms of the narrative. So okay, let me read about Sony Anycast. Okay, so Anycast kind of sounds like a similar piece of equipment to this, although I imagine it may be a little more robust. So it has that cameras and different inputs. It can stream. So with that stream, is it like a stream directly from it, or is it via Ethernet, or just Wi-Fi, or? Well, anyway, so either of those, like, how exactly does the stream directly from the Anycast work? Oh, and it has a disk drive. Okay, so it's actually got some actual internal kind of memory, I guess. Videos switch between cameras. Yeah, that does sound nice. I imagine it's good because it can actually kind of be a separate system that doesn't require um that computer like this setup I have does. I'm not on Facebook Gaming. I'm just streaming from my Facebook profile because this is actually mainly for work testing, rather than for professional or not professional, but dedicated game streaming. I would be interested in dedicated game streaming potentially, but currently this is for testing our capability of streaming for virtual and hybrid events moving forward here at the College of Charleston. There's the URL link ups to set it to Facebook and or YouTube. Okay. Okay, so yeah, it sounds like it's kind of a more contained package, so you can kind of do a lot all in one thing rather than how I have to do it, where I have a software control uh, linked up for my ATEM Mini, and then I have OBS open. So rather than that, you have a little one piece of hardware that has a more dedicated, like, job list that it has. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Um, any and all support and moral support, at least, and viewership is appreciated. So, um, but um, but yeah, that sounds like an interesting piece of tech. I think we're gonna have to operate on what we have now because of funding for everything and what budgets are like with with the state of the world, everything. Oh, okay. Well, also that'll be an issue. Discontinued. I'm sure there are alternatives. So I would just keep using it. I'm sure y'all will keep using it while available and possible. But but there are all kinds of different levels. I mean, like I said, this is a good intro thing and it works. You do need a solid, pretty robust computer to stream from, because I can tell you my personal computer would explode trying to do this. Specifically the graphics. There is no my computer has nothing for in terms of dedicated graphics processing. Well, it literally has nothing for dedicated graphics processing. It's just got the basic i5 or whatever processor. So it can run like 8-bit maybe. uh, Heaven forbid you tried to stream from the thing. Um, and we'd even tested using a pretty nice Dell with a dedicated graphics processor, but for some reason I think the driver was installed but not enabled. It's a whole hullabaloo where we were trying to do some live events with it, and it didn't quite function the way we would have wanted. And I'm sure we could have gotten it to a state where we wanted, but it was also a loaner computer, and we tested with just a mid-range Mac, and it was able to handle things the way we were running it pretty well. So we then went with this MacBook Pro that we have, which, like I said, has been, I haven't had a single issue with it yet. Knock on wood. So that's been good. Looks like YouTube stream is still good. I have been live for 33 minutes and I haven't played a single bit. Not necessarily a bad thing. I guess that's the problem with having a chat, right? You watch Twitch streamers and they have the chat actually on the screen, I think, so they can actually try and play and engage at the same time. Um, so, anyways, here, let me actually load up a game that has some good progress to it. There we go. Complete. So that was my first playthrough. If you notice, 29 hours. I was very thorough with my first playthrough. Oh yeah, I know. I know if you play any kind of music, you're gonna get shut down because of copyright strike kind of stuff, um, which is real pain. I actually helped work for a funeral that was held on campus recently, where they were concerned over the potential for their video to be cut entirely, or for their audio to go out to be cut out while they were performing just music for the funeral. But put a copyright statement in the description, and it was nothing like they were gospel tunes. It was nothing too recent or anything like that. So hopefully it was fine. I'm gonna go with. Let me see. Try to pick a good one. A little more open space would be good. I haven't done mall in a bit. Let's do that hard. Let me check what my OBS output is set to in terms of resolution. Says it's set to 1920 by 1080, so that's good. Hoping it's actually streaming at that. Probably is. I don't know what Facebook does with its No, it's 720. I guess that's fair. At least on Facebook. Let me see if it's different on YouTube.
Got the engine back up. Where should I put in?
Okay. So it looks like the bit rate is lower on YouTube for high, lower than it would like to be. For 1080p resolution on YouTube. It says it's good, so it went from excellent to good, and it's on 1080. So I imagine it's okay, but I should probably just adjust my bit rate on OBS. Let me see if I can actually adjust that. Said I was able to adjust bitrate for my YouTube output. Of course, whether or not that'll actually apply, because it was technically already set to higher than what this claims it needs. So there may be some kind of throttling going on somewhere in line. Not really sure. Still says good stream status, so I'm hoping that that's okay. Let me go back. All right, so yeah. Looks like it's okay for now. We'll see. But I'm gonna go ahead and actually try and play it.
Mark it on the other side.
Copy.
Warning to everyone. Everyone watching.
More soldiers to the Marine.
Copy, Gamma. We'll pass the info to command. Stand by for further instructions.
You think this affects the raid tonight?
I know.
Control the perimeter. I don't want any more surprises today.
They're looking for these trespassers.
Something doesn't add up about what they're doing.
You think they're working with the scars?
They're not just trying to get through the city.
I don't care who they are. I just want them found.
Go back to having the Facebook chat open, because that's where I actually had some level of engagement. I need cloth to make assignments. I do have counterweight on the. I do not have got it. There we go. Which Metal Gear Solid was it? Was it the most recent one? Or who knows what it might be? But yeah, this game is I've actually seen it compared to Metal Gear Solid in terms of its stealth.
Does anyone?
I didn't really play much of the most recent Metal Gear Solid. It was alright, but it just was a little much for me. And I didn't have the history with it. So so probably like one of the early ones. No, I never really played them, so when it came out, I knew it was supposed to be good, but I just never had any experience with it, so I didn't have that kind of investment in the story in the world. So I just got kind of burned out on it. Meanwhile, this game, I love the first one. And this is, gameplay-wise, worlds of improvement on that first game. Not that the first one's bad, mind you, just that in 7 years they really came along and improved the graphics, gameplay, everything.
John!
I am about to die, by the way, Samante. Just Assassin's Creed's good. They've really come a long ways with those. They've changed them up a lot. And I've played a bit of sports games, but I don't know. I've never been too big of a sports person in general, anyways. So I've always been a lot more narrative driven. I mean, gameplay is important, but this game in particular is like there's a lot of character exploration. Oh, do I need to decrease levels for the game audio? I can turn that down. Oh yeah, probably. Cuz that click was just very loud, so okay. That's funny. Let me know how this sound effects are here now that I've died. Drowned out my audio, or was it like, did it peak like for your end? Like was it painful to listen to, or was it just that it drowned me out? Because I found that I need to figure out a better way to do my audio, because I feel like I have it boosted fairly high on both the mixer end and the and in OBS, but I'm not even like tickling yellow right now on my my levels. And I don't want my gain to be too high on the mixer, because I don't want to be peaking on the mixer end. Let me see what it looks like on the mixer. Check 1 2, check 1 2, checking. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check check. Check check. Check 1 2. Checking 1 2. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Check check. Check 1 2. I think the levels only, so I may have found an issue that you can have here, that I have the audio, I have a monitor set up for the game audio via OBS, but I just brought the audio down a bit so the game hopefully won't drown out my speaking. Now, perhaps I probably can do this. I could probably adjust prioritization um in OBS, like to layer it. Let me see if there's settings for that. Audio settings. Hmm. I haven't I didn't see a setting. It's probably in there, but to prioritize audio over one over the other. I just wanted to make sure I could also hear myself. Um, hear the gameplay. But also I didn't have the levels all the way up for the monitor output either, so I increased that to compensate. Let me fire to see what the levels look like. Okay. I wasn't able to really see what the audio levels look like. I don't know if you tried to call me, what would happen.
Right back there! Over here!
Man.
Bring her down!
Help. Okay, I'm gonna answer this real quick. Okay. Are you getting... Hey, can you hear me? Yes. Yeah. Mm. Can you hear me? You cannot.
not. I can hear you. I just switched my microphone. Can you hear me now? So